Hi, everybody. I thought I should take a few minutes to go over some of the common problems that people were having in the in-class session last Thursday when they were trying to prepare financial statements for Cinnamon Corporation. What the assignment was to prepare an income statement, a statement of retained earnings, and a classified balance sheet for Cinnamon Corporation using this adjusted trial balance. And you are given sample financial statements from Choi Company to use as a format. What should your financial statements actually look like? Well, let's look at this format income statement for Choi Company. 3-line heading, revenues, expenses, $ by each number in the first number in each column and the final answer. Nicely sized columns. They're not too big. They're not so small that they cut off words. And the whole thing is centered nicely on this page. So I took a look at this trial balance and just sort of put together a financial statement that looks a little bit like some of the financial statements I saw many students trying to put together last Thursday. And there's a whole bunch of problems here. And I'm going to help you solve those problems so you don't make the same errors on your Chapter 1 financial statement homework assignment that's due next Thursday. The first and most common error students were making was they were using way too many columns. They were trying to get the thing centered on the page as they look at it on the Excel page. But that's not where the centering comes from. The centering happens when you go to the print function. And I'll show that to you later. So rule number 1 is there should be no unused columns at all. This one, A and B are not used. We've got something in C, but we have nothing that begins in D. Cinnamon, the 3-line heading is actually in the wrong spot, and when we move it, E and F will also be unused columns. So let's move the 3-line heading to be flush left with our worksheet. We'll start there. Now let's get rid of the columns we don't need. We don't need A and B because there's nothing in those columns. Delete. We've got words now in the new column A. They run over into columns B, C, and D, but they don't start in columns B, C, and D. There is nothing that's supposed to be in columns B, C, and D. So those are 3 columns that we don't need in our worksheet and should not have in our worksheet. So I'm going to delete those. Now we have 3 columns, a column for the words and 2 columns for the numbers, which is exactly what we want. But as you can see, we have serious sizing problems. So let's just resize column A so it'll fit all the words. Now all the words show in the properly resized column A. It's wide enough to have all those words in it. Now our number columns are way too wide. So let's just narrow those up a little bit. We'll refine the size of our number columns here pretty quickly. We'll just start right there. As you know, the 3-line header is supposed to be centered over the worksheet, over the 3 columns of the worksheet. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3 columns, not way over here, but 3 columns of the worksheet, merge and center. 1, 2, 3, merge and center. 1, 2, 3, merge and center. Okay, we're starting to clean this up a little bit. We could indent these expenses a little bit more if we chose to do so. We could have them flush left if we chose to do so. but I think that they look better indented just a little bit, like fees earned is indented. So that looks pretty good. Now let's take a look at the formatting on the numbers. You've got dollar signs in many of the wrong places. You've got inconsistent formatting where some numbers have 2 decimal places and some numbers have none. And what we need to do is have consistent number formatting. So I'm going to highlight those 2 columns that contain numbers. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go down to Format Cells. It is usually appropriate to choose the accounting category when you're doing an accounting spreadsheet. If we're working with whole dollars, you don't need any decimal places at all, and only use decimal places if you really do have pennies on your worksheets. And on the symbol, most of the numbers are not going to have dollar signs by them, so for now I'm going to choose none, and I'm going to say OK. Oops, and that did not work. Let's try it again. Format Cells, Accounting, 0, none, OK. There we go. It reformatted it. Now, if you'll remember, we were supposed to have a dollar sign by the first number in each column and the final answer. So the easiest way to get that done is to click on the first number of that column, and while holding the Control key down, click on that number and click on the final answer. You can release the Control key. Now right-click, Format Cells, and put a dollar sign by those 3 numbers. Bingo, there they are. Now I want to make sure that the columns are properly sized. They're still way too wide. You see how this line extends mostly over open space and not mostly under numbers. Now it shouldn't be crowded, but it certainly shouldn't be that wide. So I'm going to highlight my number columns and I'm going to close it up a little bit till it looks much better. And I think that looks much, much better. If I didn't like the font or the font for the words, I can highlight the entire worksheet and I can change it. I happen to like Arial 12, but let's say I wanted to use Calibri 14. There we go. The whole thing is changed. I'm going to put it back to Arial 12 because that just happens to be my favorite. That's personal preference. You do not have to use Arial 12 as long as your financial statements are clear, easy to read. Now, the couple more things to talk about. First of all, sheet 1 is not very descriptive of what's on this page. We have the trial balance page, and then we have sheet 1. What this is the income statement. So I'm going to get my cursor down and hover over sheet 1, and I'm going to double click on that until sheet 1 is in a dark shaded area. And that will allow me then to change the title of that tab to Income Statement. And one of the last things then I want to talk about is, well, wait a minute, Costello, this is not centered on the page. You said they should look really pretty and be centered on the page. And I'm saying that that comes through the print function. So I'm going to go to File, Print, and see how we have this print preview page. Notice it's nicely centered because I've already checked this center horizontally checkbox. If I did not have that checked, then it would not look pretty on the page. So to review, to get it to look pretty on your print page, your printed page, go to Page Setup, go to Margins, go to Center horizontally on the page. Do not center it vertically, just center it horizontally. And there it is. When we print it out, it will look really pretty on the page. So that's what your financial statements should look like. I guess I'll see you in class on Thursday. Take care.